Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell and Tam McManus are here with me in the studio, and this is what we have coming up.
Brendan Rodgers questions some Celtic players' mentality after St Johnstone defeat. Barry Ferguson admits his side were nowhere near what he determines a Rangers team. Simo Valakari insists there's still a lot of fight left in his side despite others writing them off. And Jim Goodwin says the foot won't come off the gas now that a top 6 place has been secured.
Yeah, lots to talk about on the programme and a sunny day. Everybody's feeling great. Will they be positive on today's programme? Only time will tell. We'll find out, because who would have thought yet again both halves of the Old Firm lose on Saturday and Sunday. Just when one team starts wallowing in it and celebrating, the other team comes a cropper up at McDermott Park. So we'll talk about the first one, which is of course at Ibrox. It's been a long time since Hibs were able to get a win there, 2018 to be precise, but this Hibs side are unbeaten in 16 league games, and they managed to get a 2-0 win over Rangers. Well, was it deserved?
Yeah, thoroughly deserved, Peter. I think if you watched the game, you'd have seen that Hibs were the better side. I think Barry's come out and said that after the game. Thought they were well organised, hungry. Once they got the first goal in the first half, I don't think Rangers really looked. I think they hit the bar with Badrami, and I think Dessert had a couple of chances, but Hibs could have won the game 3-0. Boy went through again and could have scored to make it 3-0, but just Hibs are so organised and difficult to break down at the minute. They're well drilled, Peter, well coached, and they've got pace at the top end of the park, so a lot of people were looking at an upset in this game, but it didn't happen. Hibs won. Yeah,
David Gray delighted with the win, because obviously they are still in the mix to finish third.
That's massive, clearly, and when you look at the results as well, we needed to win to make sure we stayed in third. Said to all the players before the game and all my build up to the game about the level of performance that's required to come here and win. History tells you it's a real difficult place for a Hibs team to come. 2018 was the last time we came here and won in the league, so the level of performance required, I definitely got that for every player today, and I'm delighted for the players because they fully deserve it.
Sometimes a victory can get lost by everybody talking about what Rangers or Celtic didn't do in a match, but Hibs, to their credit, took the game to Rangers, took their chances well, albeit the first one was a blunder.
Yeah, I thought they were well worth it. I thought they played particularly well. I think they look just now like a confident team. They look assured. I think they look dangerous on the break. They look fairly menacing. I think Martin Boyle is just you're seeing glimpses of him coming back to his best over the last couple of months, and I think Hibs now. I think I definitely have my money on Hibs going and getting third spot this season. But I think they'll draw a lot from that performance. I think it was 2018 the last time that they'd won at Ibrox and Leeds Duty. We'd spoken about it on Friday afternoon on the show, and I just think you draw so much from that kind of result and performance going into the latter stages of the campaign.
Yeah, so much positivity around Hibs, and of course, as they get closer to the end of the season, if they can get European football as well, when you consider the pressure that David Gray was under at the start, Tam. I mean, Ruffy, we were talking about it week in, week out, weren't we?
Yeah, I think we were about maybe a couple of days we all agreeing that he shouldn't hold on to that job.
Well, I wasn't.
No, I think there was at a stage when there was, I think the Aberdeen game, the 3 each game, I think if he'd have lost that game, I think he might have, well, questions had to be asked, because they couldn't have continued losing these kind of games, but he got the break on the night, and ever since then they've just soldiered on.
Yeah, so much to talk about as far as Rangers are concerned, but great credit to Hibs, the way they played, the goals that they scored as well. I've got to ask you, Ruffy, the first one, Levitt, the shot. You got to buy a ticket for the raffle, so he took the shot. But Jack Butland, boy, he's getting a lot of criticism. Is it time to drop him?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it depends on the individual, the conversation. He's going to have a conversation with Barry. There's no doubt about that. If he feels that he's not playing to the level that he should be at, then I think he should stand aside. But I think he's too good a goalkeeper. Goalkeepers make mistakes. If I said to you, how many mistakes has he made this year in 30-odd games, it maybe been 4 or 5. If an outfield player had made that many mistakes, and they're still playing, I think he's a good goalkeeper. He's lost bad goals. I'm sure he'd hold his hands up at the one at the weekend. It was just a mistake, but I think he's too good a goalkeeper to leave. I think he's a better goalkeeper than Killie. I think we're concentrating too much on these bad mistakes rather than these good ones.
Well, I'm going to mention this point because there's a guy, Hugh Burns, who sends us messages all the time, and he mentioned on Friday that clearly this programme is a bit like Thank God It's Friday, you know, with, what was his name, the red-haired boy that used to host it, Chris Evans, yeah, because he said, you know, the panel all work for you and they're scared to disagree with you or argue with you. And I think Hugh must be watching a completely different show because we all disagree with each other regularly and you're all still here. So Hugh, get ready for this. Ruffy says, no, I think Liam Killie, what's he done wrong? He's just not a big enough name. I mean, he's a good goalkeeper.
I think he'll drop Butland on Thursday. I think Liam Killie will come in on Thursday. I just think it's not just 3 or 4. It's in the last few weeks, Ruffy. You know, it's a collection of, you know, you've seen his performance at Dundee as well, and it's too big a game. I think Liam Killie will come in. Peter, I think Liam Killie came in for what, 1 game, 2 games, maybe kept a clean sheet.
Oh, he played against Celtic.
I think he's lost the confidence of the supporters, and particularly Ibrox as a goalkeeper. If you've lost the confidence of the supporters, and I think Barry will replace him. So I think Liam Killie will play at the weekend. And just finally, just touching on Hibs, I'm glad VAR was in for the second goal because he was inside his own half.
Yeah,
and that would have been a great goal chopped off from a bad error for the linesman.
What about Martin Boyle? 16 goals and 5 short of his 100.
Yeah, listen, he's been a wonderful signing. I think he came in a swap deal. I can't remember the young lad's name. It went from Hibs to Dundee, and you know, he came in for nothing basically, and he's been a brilliant servant for Hibs. 5 short of the 100. I played with a guy, Derek Riordan, who scored 100. Don't think Martin's quite as good as him, but he's still getting 100 goals. I think he'll get it if he stays this season. He might get it before the end of the season, Peter, but if he stays next year, he'll definitely get it. I think the club have got a year's option. So
would you keep him?
Yeah, I would now, Peter. I think the first half of the season I'd have said no, but I think from January on, like most of the Hibs players, David Gray's getting a tune out of them. Quick word for Rocky Bashiri, he was absolutely outstanding at the weekend as well. Great game. Yeah,
absolutely, which is amazing because at times, Alison, I watch Rocky Bashiri and I just think bomb scare, but he's just been rock solid for them.
Yeah, he's come on. I think you can. He was really honest, actually. We spoke to him after the Scottish Cup game, I think it was, down at Ayr. Spoke about the fact he knew he was making mistakes, he knew he had things to go and work on. He'd spoken to David Gray quite extensively. I think you're just seeing. I think he epitomises Hibs just now, in that they look like a confident team, and that comes from winning games, from putting a sequence of results together, and I think that's indicative in the way that he's playing and performing too, in a fairly settled back line just now.
OK, we're giving Hibs credit. Let's dissect Rangers. Barry Ferguson, the Rangers manager, not happy with the defeat.
That's not a Rangers team.
What's that in here?
Miles from being a Rangers team. This is your bread and butter, and I've said it. I think I feel I'm repeating myself. European games, Celtic games, are the easiest games to get up for. These are the games that this group of players struggle with, and it was evident today. Yet we started good again. Another mistake. Go into our shells, feel sorry for each other. We come back out it after 10 minutes. Finish okay. Second half, I demand a lot more from them, and I don't get it.
Demanding it from them, but basically, if you're demanding, a better effort and more from them creatively, and you're not getting it, then they're not good enough, and that's been evident all the way through the season. No matter what Barry does, no matter what Philippe Clement managed to do at times, they just fail time and time again, and that is in a number of players' DNA.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about it all season, Peter. It's the expectations when Rangers have got to win, and they struggled again at the weekend, Peter. You know, they're expected to beat Hibs at home, don't do it. You know, made hard work of beating Dundee, go to Fenerbahce, no pressure, win. Go to Celtic Park, no pressure, win. Barry's spot on, and I think the fans are starting to turn on the players now because, you know, you've already had a manager sacked in Clement. Barry Ferguson's come in totally different, knows Rangers, loves Rangers, giving everything to try and make them better, and they're still not getting results. So I think it's the players, Peter, and the players are not good enough. And listen, I think they need to rip it up and start again this summer. They've obviously, hopefully for them, got a big investment coming in, and I think there'll be a big clear out in the summer because, I mean, how many players do you think genuinely in that Rangers team are good enough?
Well, I've got 6.
To go and win a title next season against Celtic.
I've got 6 that I would keep. One of them they'd have to buy. Suter, Raskin, Barron, Diamandi, Killie and Czerny. I'm being really harsh and brutal about it. If you want to win... James Tavernier's done his bit. I mean, he might not have been the captain that is littered with titles because of how strong Celtic are. But I think now is the time for everybody to make a fresh start. I think James Tavernier will probably want a fresh start.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you. What's your list again? Give me the 6 again.
Suter, Raskin, Barron, Diamandi, Killie, and I'd buy Czerny.
And you wouldn't keep Dessers?
I'm sorry. You need to be a Rangers striker. I mean, he scored 23 goals, but to be a Rangers striker and the chances they create in big games, you need a.
That's just par for the course, isn't it?
You need a goal scorer who scores goals in big games, not just somebody who racks up 23. When you are 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper, he had numerous chances on Saturday, but when you are 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper, especially in European games as well, you've got to have that consistency. And Rangers have created chances, but he just is. The stats don't lie. He's got to score goals, and he's got to have a better conversion rate on the ratio of chances. And I look at him and I think to myself, 1 minute there's a week or 2 weeks where he scores goals and everybody goes, there's something there. But
some of the European goals,
it's
Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's not regular enough. No harm to the boy. I think at times he to his credit, he treats praise and then criticism with the same disdain. I think he's level-headed about things, but I think if you're going to be brutally honest as a manager, you think, will he win me the league next season? I'm not so sure, and I don't think Rangers fans believe that he's the answer to the goal scoring on a regular basis. You need to be consistent. I've got 6 there, and I'm being absolutely brutal about it.
Yeah, you've left him out.
No, I'm leaving him out.
He was a 15 million player a fortnight ago.
Well, this is the nature of Scottish football, Ruffy. I mean, at the end of the day, one Rangers fan said to me, wait a minute, he's not even played in his right position. Well, I'm sorry, if you're a Rangers manager and you're thinking to yourself, he's a goal scorer, you play him centre, and you say, you're centre forward, you're down the middle, you score the goals. The best players should play, the best players have to deliver in the big games, and they're not doing it. And that's nothing that Barry Ferguson isn't saying right now. Barry Ferguson looking at that team. I mean, at one point, a Hibs player, 25 yards from his own goal, plays a through ball and takes out almost 8 players, and the 3 significant players he takes out are on their own halfway line. And Boyle's run from inside his own half, and he goes on and scores. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
No, I agree with you. I think the problem you have, though, too, is when you talk about a clear out and you say, let's get, you need to clear the board and reduce a very bloated squad, and you want to bring in new players. You need someone to come in and actually buy them. You need teams to come in and say, we'll match your evaluation and we'll match salary levels and all the rest of it. It's not entirely just as straightforward as saying, you're not wanted, you need to go. A lot of these players still have contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that...
You get money for Dessers, I think you cash
you
in.
would.
Dessers is
yeah,
one
you
that
definitely
you
would
get money
I'd cash
for,
in,
but I'm thinking there's a few...
I'd take the money for him in the summer.
Yeah.
I think you could get a striker.
How much would you get for Butland now?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It depends who's buying. Depends who's coming in and who's looking. I think his stock has fallen. I think there's no question about that. I think some fairly high-profile mistakes this season, as Tam says, they've come like in a rush. They've come in the last couple of months. They've come sort of back to back. Thinking at Motherwell, that game at Fir Park too. But yeah, I think Dessers probably would command a decent fee.
Yeah.
This summer, I think if you want to bring, if you go back to January, I think there were clubs in for him in January, and he opted to stay. I think there will be some attention on him.
There's a number of players that they'll just turn around and say, by the way, you're coming to the end of your deal, thanks. See you later.
You're coming to the end of the deal.
And all the younger players that they've got that they maybe be throwing on as a sub late on, they're not going to feature next year. It doesn't matter what.
Obviously, get Lyle Cameron coming in from Dundee.
Lyle Cameron's coming in, and he's obviously going to get a pre-season there. and you've got Connor Barron, who you are hoping, from his point of view, that he can take a step again as he understands the pressures of it all. But other than that, Ruffy, there's no youngsters going to come in that everybody's talking about in the reserves that you think, he's going to make he'll save us a few quid. So I think from that point of view, Barry Ferguson or anybody else who's looking at it, and it's still the conundrum of the takeover. When that eventually happens, if that eventually happens, it's a whole different ball game. But I think they would need to first of all think, okay, there's your manager, there's your sporting director, sit down. You need to rip it up here.
Yeah, I think the first thing they've got to identify, there's a lot of these players aren't up for a fight. They're nice players. They like being in the team. They like being winning. They like being winning in front of 50,000. They'll take everything that's going with it. But when the going gets tough, particularly at Ibrox, when they go behind, there's certain players cannot handle what happens when you go behind a big club with 50,000 people there. And it's up to whoever it is that's in charge to identify who these players are, because they've all got ability. I just don't think they've got a mental ability to play for a club like Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget, if you are on our live feed, if you want to make a point, by all means do so. But if you stray into an area where you start to mention things that are slightly untoward, then we have regulators there who will ban you from the feed, because it's fairly decent people. 99% of the people who post on here are football lovers, love their club and want honest opinion on it. We try to do that on a regular basis, whether it's on the live. Obviously, lots of people catch up with this at a time that suits them, when possibly the kids and the husband have gone to bed, Ali. They just sit down and get it on the big YouTube, and we're off and running, and then throw things at the telly once we come on. But if you've got an opinion, by all means share it with us, but try and keep it sensible. If it's just slightly leaning towards insane, why not go to some of the club fanzines? It's probably better for you. Other outlets available. Fantastic, Tam. It's almost as if you've got that presenter's head on today, which is brilliant. So, Rangers lost, and then you just go to the memes, and then you go to the social media, and you think, some of the fans, some patter is really, really good. Some of the memes are funny. And then 24 hours later, it's a chance for the Rangers fans to flip it, because Celtic lose to St Johnstone. Daniel Balladis scores the winning goal, and St Johnstone hold on, and still it's the great escape on for Simo Valakari. Said they refused to accept their going.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bit of fight in them left still to go. I think it's hugely intriguing. At the bottom, I still think the odds are stacked against them. I think they've maybe given themselves far too much to do, but certainly they're not going to go quietly into that good night, that's for sure. They're going to fight for their top flight lives. And I thought Celtic were really poor yesterday. I thought they were pretty insipid. It got better in the second half, slightly better, and they worked the goalkeeper, but I think you would have expected him to save what he did save. I know he repelled a couple of efforts from Luke McCowan and Forrest, Maida, but they were efforts I think you would be expecting him to save. I think Celtic just looked very pedestrian for much of it.
Yeah, come on, give Andy Fisher his due, Ali.
Yeah, I think he done very well. I do. I think he's made a massive difference to St Johnstone. I think if you look back at the stats since he's gone in, a massive difference.
Were you impressed with the football he played?
I thought they were. I think they were up against it in the second half. I think they were up against it. Celtic obviously dominated the ball, had a lot of possession. Even in the first half, it was kind of the same kind of routine. But I thought their set piece was good, the free kick. And they're actually, just a minute or two before that, they'd kind of posted notice of that intention. They had a similar ball into the box. It caused problems for Celtic. And a couple other moments, Adama Sidibe had a decent effort as well, just towards the end of the opening half. Yeah, I think they look like a team who are buying into what Simo Valakari wants to do. I think you can see he's hugely enthusiastic. He's really positive. He's always trying to stress the half glass full rather than half glass empty, and I think his players have responded to it.
Yeah, he's a welcome addition, and his message is don't write us off just yet.
Of course, and our team was that we go fearless. We go fearless because people has written us off, and especially the cap what you're coming here. But that's how we always handle the situation here in the club. We were very frankly with ourselves that it can be possibility that Sunday when we walk here, McDermott Park, 10:30, that the gap has bigger, depending how the results go there. So it could affect you negatively or, put you down. Nothing to do. Our players, they walk in, chest up. Okay, this is the situation now. Let's go. And I think they show it on the field very much.
That's a great attitude, Ruffy. Before the game, there's a 52-point gap between the two teams, which was incredible when you think about it. And that's their first win in 32 meetings against Celtic.
Yeah, you would have to say that the St Johnstone players would be getting into that game a bit apprehensive of what's happened in the previous results with Celtic. But like any football team, you get an early goal, you've got something to hang on to. They start throwing their bodies on the line for everything that came in their way. Yeah, if Celtic taking their chances, they probably should have won the game, but you have to give them credit. But the whole game, I know Brendan Rodgers was saying it was sloppy. For me, the whole game summed up with Kuhn at the back post when he should have scored. I was going to say a word there, but I've been told I can't use that word.
Okay, well, let's look at what Brendan Rodgers had to say about this one. It was a poor start to the game, and not for the first time. This is something we'll look at in the summer. It was too soft and too comfortable. It's about mentality. There's a few who are comfortable, and comfort is not a physical place. You become timid, and of course you can lose that fight. That can never be the case if you want to be a top player. For Celtic, it's about winning the best way you can, not chugging across the line. We haven't won the league yet. There's still a lot of work to do, and you sensed from the press conference, you were there, Ali, he was trying to bite his tongue at times.
Yeah, I thought he was annoyed. I think he came across as irritated by the performance, and I think what was really interesting for me was that he questioned the mentality of some of the existing first team squad and just pointed a couple of fingers very quietly. He didn't name any names, but I think what he was saying was, you come here, you play for Celtic, the expectation is that you deliver every game. I think everyone knows there's no tension in the outcome of the league title. It's been a question of when rather than if for months now. But what he was referencing is there is a need to do it in a certain kind of style. There is a need and a demand when you're at Celtic to go and there's a swashbuckling finale to crossing the line. You go and you put on a show and you keep your foot to the floor. And he pointed back to his first time at Celtic and how often his team's done that, and I think he's right. I think since the Bayern Munich defeat, I think Celtic have looked quite insipid. I think they've looked a bit lacklustre.
4 wins, 3 defeats.
Yeah, I think that would point to it. I think they've looked off the pace, and I think there are players maybe within the squad who think the season is just about done. It's just a case of turning up and meandering towards a title. You've got it's a dangerous mentality. Celtic still have a Scottish Cup semi-final place to play later on this month. They'll have designs on going and getting to the Scottish Cup final. I think you need to still have that hunger, and I think at Celtic, at a club like Celtic, I think you need to showcase that in every single game.
Yeah, Ruffy, have they just gone off it?
I think they went off it a wee bit, but I think I'm thinking back to the game yesterday. They had about 3 or 4 clear-cut chances that in any given day they'd have stuck it away, but it never happened for them. It's interesting, Alison, Brendan Rodgers saying there are some players. I'd love to know who players he's talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, just throwing that out there. I think he's discovered the boy at the back. Tusky's his name. Trusty. I think he's not up for a challenge. He's not up for a fight. I think he's getting a wee bit fed up with Hatate. The consistency level with him. Kuhn definitely, has no consistency whatsoever. I think he's one that hasn't come up to expectations. I know at the beginning of the season he was firing, but he just doesn't look as if he's got the hunger. Like some of the Rangers players, it doesn't look as if he's got the hunger for a fight.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting rave reviews in the game against Bayern Munich, and then nothing, gone.
Yeah, I think there's been real complacency setting at Celtic since that game, Peter. And I think it was Sir Alex Ferguson says complacency is a cancer and it can't be allowed to set into your dressing room. And I don't think Brendan Rodgers is going to allow that. And I think that's really come out yesterday in his comments. It's a real complacency. It's just, we'll just cruise it. Rangers are out the Scottish Cup. We've not got much to beat. We'll win the treble and we'll get ready to go next season. And I think the praise they got from that Bayern Munich game, and I think it's maybe went a few players' heads, Peter, and they haven't looked the same team. They've not got the same hunger. St Johnstone were hungrier from the first whistle to the last whistle. It was a game they needed to win. They were desperate to win. Celtic just went through the motions, and it can't be allowed to continue. And there's too many players too comfortable at Celtic at the minute. I don't think there's real competition for places in certain areas. Guys like Nicholas Kuhn, really, really poor again, hooked at half-time. Adam Ida, you know, not done anything for £9 million, Peter.
Well,
You're expecting a lot better from him.
Is he just not good enough?
No, I think he is, Peter. I think last season he came in on loan and he had a real hunger about him to try and get a move. I think he's got the move, and I don't know if he's sitting and he's complacent and he's got his big money move and
But he's not getting a regular game.
He's not getting a regular game, but when he comes on, Peter, he doesn't.
No, but if Kyogo goes, you should be thinking, I've got to be starting.
Yep, he should be, and he's Maeda shifted him from that position. So, you know what you're getting from guys like Maeda every week. Even Cal McGregor was off the pace. So I think that's probably the final warning from Brendan yesterday. I shot across the bow to certain players that this is not going to allow to continue. It can't continue at a club like Celtic.
Yeah, some of the comments coming in. Campbell, who says he's a Celtic fan, says, hats off to St Johnstone. Celtic at the moment are a bunch of Morris dancers. And for those under 40, you really need to YouTube Morris dancers just to see exactly what it's all about. Because I can't believe in the 70s it was actually viewed as entertainment with grown men and women just jumping about and with bells and silly outfits on. But that's what you watch, Ruffy, on a Saturday night.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be saying that in that neck of the woods where they do all that bell thing. Mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do they do it anyway?
I would be saying, no, it's in
England,
Middle England. I would be saying to my mum and dad, I really can't stay here anymore. I've got to go. You're embarrassing me. Please don't do it.
I'm fed up getting around that stick with the ribbons.
Exactly. Anyway, Campbell says Celtic are playing tippy-tappy across the park, then back to the goalie, which I have to say, you know, it is a point that you actually look at and sometimes it just becomes unbelievably monotonous and boring.
Yeah, I thought it was quite turgid at points yesterday, and I know that's not maybe the best surface, but I just thought there was an over-elaboration with passes. Sometimes just going side to side and then going back the way. There was none of the intensity that you associate with Celtic teams or that you were seeing at the start of the season when they were going out and just blowing opposition teams away.
Yeah.
There was
Did you think they should have had a penalty, Alison?
No,
Sorry to interrupt.
I didn't think it was a penalty.
No, right at the end?
Yeah, I didn't think it was a penalty.
Okay, I thought...
I didn't think there was enough in it for a penalty.
Yeah, was there a lot of claiming at the time, no?
I didn't think there was.
No?
I didn't think there was a lot.
I'll tell you one thing which was really good of St Johnstone, and it didn't affect their performance overall, which maybe some people could learn a lesson. And I think when they look back 100 years from now, they'll probably think that the people who run this game are completely and utterly stupid at times. They sold 3 stands, made a lot of money out of Celtic fans, and beat them 1-0.
Yeah, and you know, if you've got both sides to that, Peter, you've got supporters who think that gives the other team the advantage and they want their own fans in, or no away fans. Yes, and I get that as well. But it was great to see a full stadium, Peter, on the TV.
No, answer the question. 3 sold the 3.
No, they did.
Get the money.
Yeah, they did.
You beat the team. If you get good enough players, you get the right attitude. Get on with it.
No, listen, I think St Johnstone were delighted. They made a few quid. I think the people at Sky were delighted. You know, the stadium was full, no matter who it was. And
what's a nonsense? Do you think it's a nonsense?
No, I don't, Peter. No.
You don't think it's a nonsense?
No. I think clubs like Hearts and Hibs are entitled to try and sell them to their own supporters.
Yeah. And leave that big giant gap.
That's up to them. If they want to lose money, then it's up to the club.
I thought the American owner was very honest in why he did it. He said it's covered our loss if we get relegated to the Championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Financially.
And by the way, just for the benefit of you, Sam, you'll be back with us next week, yeah? Even though we disagree non-stop. Anyway, listen, I thought it was great. Fair play to...
Peter Ruffy made a great point about Kuhn.
Yeah.
The one that the boy came in and that's the sloppiness, and that's just slack, just thinking I'll just walk onto this and put it in the net. A hungry player runs onto that and slams it in the net. He just waited that split second, Peter, and the boy get back in, and that's been symptomatic of his performances.
If you can go back and watch it, it infuriated Brendan Rodgers at the time.
He just strolled on it as if he'd all the time in the world.
Yeah.
Incensed by it. It was just how complacent it was, how lackadaisical it was.
Yeah, I wonder if they actually. I mean, I know a lot of managers. I know they say that they don't. You know, they think that the world has moved on to some kind of a timid, just you're all right. Come on, you can get better next week. But there are managers out there who absolutely go berserk after the game. I wonder if Brendan Rodgers is that type of manager in the dressing room afterwards to absolutely read them the riot act and start throwing things. I have my doubts, not as a not as a criticism, just as a style.
I don't think he would shout and rant and rave. I don't think he's that kind of coach. I think you can be angry without that. I think you can make your point across.
Can you? Who are they? Name names, Ali. How can you be angry and not shout?
I think there are. I think you can be angry without all of that and still get your point across. I don't think he's one that would go in and throw saucers about and rant and rave. But I think you can still get a sense yesterday of how annoyed he was at the performance level.
See that line you've just said there? Ruffy was looking at you as if you were a complete space cadet. Because
none of the managers are. Shouted at me, done it in a very nice way.
I was just about to say, Ruffy, and I hate to mention his name, please tell him to forgive me, but I can't imagine when Fred's been right out of line. Yeah. You go, look, Fred, I'm going to tell you just quite calmly where you've gone wrong today. Doesn't happen, Ali.
If the kids are watching this show, I wish I were there when you're there getting them around the next time.
Exactly. Tam, Tam, have you ever shouted at your wife, ever?
No. I think words can cut you.
Yeah.
In terms of, I agree with Alison. I think don't need to start screaming at somebody. I think you can just go over the edge a wee bit and just your words and what you say to a player.
Here's an example.
You can say to someone, and really get your point across that you're not doing it without shouting at them.
Okay, I prefer the Neil Warnock way. Listen, I want to ask you a question. Could Greg Taylor join Rangers in the summer if it was on? Could he handle it?
That's a big move for him, Peter. I mean, no, not for me.
No chance.
I don't think it's worth a hassle, Peter.
No.
Why would you make that move?
There's not a chance that a player would go straight from Celtic to Rangers or Rangers to Celtic. You would need a stepping stone in the middle.
You're going to move to Campbelltown and travel down every day.
Swim over.
No, you're not having it?
I think he'd be a great signing for Rangers. He's better than what Rangers have got at left back for me. He's a good player. Is it worth a hassle for him and his family every week?
It's not a chance.
Nah.
Ruffy?
No, I don't think so.
Couldn't do it?
No.
Yeah. Okay, I just thought I'd ask. It's out there. I mean, people are saying, I read some bit of gossip this morning. I thought, I wonder if he's got the metal.
Last Tuesday story, like that, an April Fool's Day story?
No, it's actually this morning. It's just one of those ones where you think to yourself, I'm not sure Greg, I don't know if he's that type of person where he would actually say, for me in the 21st century, for me in any century, to be honest with you, I just look and think, it's a job, as long as you don't...
You live in Glasgow.
I know that, I get that, I know, but it shouldn't be that way, But as long as you don't parade yourself in the morning in a Celtic strip and tell them you're joining, and then 3 weeks later suddenly come out the marble staircase, that's a different kettle of fish, Ruffy. Yeah, was it shorter?
Still hate Mo Johnson.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, give us your thoughts on it. Could you do it? Would you do it? Celtic and Rangers lose their games. I'll tell you, there's some fantastic games, in the bottom half for teams trying to avoid relegation. We've mentioned St Johnstone, fantastic. But that battle to get into the top six as well is superb. There's so many great games to talk about as well. Give us your thoughts on it. Dundee 2, St Mirren 0. Simon Murray, we mentioned before, Tam, when you've got a goal scorer, he could save you and keep you in the Scottish Premiership. So 21 goals this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's obviously the key player, Peter. I think without his goals, I think they'd be bottom of the league. I'll be honest with you, I think they'd be bottom of the league if it wasn't for him. There was obviously a lot of rumours about him going to Hibs. I loved him at Hibs. I really like him.
He was at Hibs.
I'm talking about in the summer. He was potentially going back to Hibs from Ross County. He went to Dundee for family reasons. I believe his son lives in the area, so he wanted to be closer to him. So, no, I think Dundee, excellent result. I said it in the show on Friday, if I was Stuart and Tony, I'd be working all week just to keep a clean sheet, because I've got a goal or two in them, as you've seen. They could have scored another couple. They defended well. St Mirren did create chances, but massive result for Dundee. St Mirren got away with it a little bit, with Motherwell getting beat, Hearts getting beat, so there's still those three clubs in it for the last top six place. But yeah, Simon Murray's had a fantastic season. Peter, 21 goals, I believe he scored 25 plus for Ross County last season. He's playing with two teams that are going to be in the bottom six the last two seasons, and he scored nearly 50 goals, so great player.
Okay, I'm going to give you the line. I might as well give you it, not because I don't want to in any way dismiss Simon Murray's efforts. Is he worthy of Steve Clarke having a look at him?
I think he's worthy of having a look, Peter. I think at 33, maybe his time's just passed. Maybe he's hit form at the, maybe a wee bit too late. But I look at him as a lone striker. He reminds me a bit of a Kenny Miller type. I think in terms of Scotland, if we played one up front, I look at the strikers that we've got, and I think that Simon Murray, in terms of just going and running channels and being a nuisance and being a pest and getting fouls and getting us out the pitch, could potentially do a job in that role. But you're thinking, well, who does he come in for? Who does he replace? And you've got the boy Hurst who's playing in the Premier League in England. Kevin Nisbet's been doing well for Aberdeen. Che Adams is playing in Serie A. It's not just like Simon Murray in. Who for? Would be the question.
Yeah, the only thing for me, Ruffy, I would say no. I looked at it this morning, didn't laugh it out of town. I would just say no because he is an older boy, and you more than anybody know that players have to make a step up again to international football, and I think that just might be too late for him unless you're going to tell me otherwise.
Well, my answer to that was, let's see. We've got 2 friendlies coming up. Throw him in, see what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, boy scores goals, and Tam will tell you, if you're scoring goals, you would think you will think you can score at most levels.
Yeah.
But it is a step up. There's no doubt about that. I mean, defences are better than what he's playing against, so obviously they wouldn't score that many goals. But we're barring of a goal scorer. Shea Adams gives you a shift. He makes the runs, but he's not in the right place at the right time to score goals. This boy is scoring goals. I don't see Nisbet as a Scotland striker. I really don't.
Yeah. Of course, it's a big win for Dundee. They're desperately hoping they can get away from the playoff place, possibly relegation as well. It's all in the mix for them. And St Mirren, they have aspirations to get into the top 6. We'll discuss the permutations, but here's what both managers made after the game.
I'm pleased for the players that get the reward because it's difficult keeping the message out. Get lads, just keep doing the same, and the results will follow. And I do think the performance level's been up there. But you do need to back that up with results, so I was always banging on about the consistency, about the performance level, and now we're getting results as a consequence of that. So I did feel I work with them every day. I see how conscientious they are as a group, how hard working, how diligent they are, and that's why I'm particularly pleased that they get the reward today.
Yeah, listen, it's a hard task now, obviously, there's no denying that. Our focus, as I've always said, is staying in this division. It has to be. No matter what happens, we need to beat Ross County for numerous reasons, to give ourselves a chance still in the top 6, or to make sure we're not looking over our shoulder in the final games, because it's tough. This league's really tough. We've no divine right to be in it. We've certainly no divine right to be in the top 6.
Listen, if he gets into the top 6 by hook or by crook on this one, he deserves great credit. Motherwell still have a chance, and so do Hearts. Before we get to Kilmarnock, Motherwell, again, the downside of it all is St Mirren lose the game, maybe deserve more out of it. Didn't get it in the end, Ali, but it's still all to play for.
Yeah, I think all eyes will be on these games next weekend. You've got 3 teams all vying for that top 6 place. I think.
Do you want that permutation?
Yeah, on you go.
If Motherwell and Hearts draw and St Mirren win, then they're in the top 6. If Motherwell win and St Mirren draw, then it's Motherwell in the top 6, because Motherwell are obviously playing Hearts. Fairly straightforward for Hearts. Win the game, they're in the top 6.
Yeah, I think for St Mirren it would be a remarkable achievement. I think to make it 3 successive seasons, finishing the top 6 would be above all expectations. I think punching above their weight when you look at the teams that they're up against here. To claim that 6th spot, I do think it will be Hearts. I think I would expect it to be Hearts who go on and claim it. But certainly there's plenty of intrigue and plenty of excitement around this weekend's fixtures.
Yeah, I was at the Hearts game at Tynecastle on the Sunday. Sun was shining. It was just perfect conditions for what I thought was going to be a great game. Roughy, sunshine, beautiful pitch, and in the end, a great goal to win it. I mean, a brilliant goal, because how Sam Dalby was able to get his neck round and flick it away into the back of the net. It was just absolutely top drawer. And Dundee United in the top 6, thinking, can we get third?
Yeah, that was a good game. Obviously, the sending off, I thought, was pivotal for the whole thing.
Did you think it was a sending off?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it was a lunge for distance.
Ali?
And he caught the ball.
I didn't. The first time I saw it, I didn't. And the first couple of times I watched it, I didn't. When I saw it again from a different angle, I thought he was high. I thought it was a red.
Red?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he meant to come in and do him, Peter. He's desperate to win the ball, but
Just a bit high.
His foot's come up, he's caught him. It's a red card.
Yeah, although, to be fair, where the press box is at Tynecastle is absolutely priceless, because I kid you not, there are 2 or 3 guys on my left-hand side who really don't have a command of the English language other than F, B and C, and they saved them all for Nick Walsh, the referee, and they were giving him dog's abuse. And then what they do is they belt into the SFA, and then they belt round to you as if it's your fault that the referee has sent him off, and then every decision after that they were on his case. It was absolutely, well, honestly, it was one of those lines, Ali, and it was relentless all the way through it. I'm going to be honest with you, Hearts had the best chances, Ruffy, in the first half. The boy Kabangu had a brilliant chance to score, and then Walton made the save. And they had 2 or 3 other chances, and even down to 10 men, they made a real go of it. But I just think all the credit lies with Dundee United. This is a boy who got them out of that championship, who suffered it wasn't embarrassment, it was just painful seeing him being sacked by Aberdeen walking across that Easter Road pitch. And now he got himself back up off the canvas, dusted himself down, and right now Jim Goodwin deserves all the praise that's coming his way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's been fantastic for the whole season. Even things were going bad, he was always very positive. He had a lot of VARs went against him. You know, and he had to win over the supporters, because I don't know why the Dundee United supporters never really took to him at the beginning. Maybe they didn't like the appointment, but I would like to think now that what he's done for the club, they would get right behind him.
Yeah, this is what Jim Goodwin and Neil Critchley made of not only top 6, but of course that challenge as well.
That the league is not over. You know, just because we have got that top 6 now doesn't mean the next 7 games are meaningless, because we want to push for those European places now. So, you know, we all get greedy as time goes on, and no doubt the supporters, you know, the board of directors, and certainly within our dressing room as a playing staff, you know, we look at the opportunity to try and catch the teams above us now.
At the time, I thought it was a real genuine attempt to play the ball. I thought you got something on the ball. I thought it was very harsh at the time. I haven't seen it back. It was, I mean, you're talking about a fraction, an absolute fraction being mistimed. And then he's follow through slightly high. Now, when you go to ground and you slide, there's always going to be a natural coming together. But the referee's right on top of it. And in this day and age, if you mistime a tackle, then you give the referee a decision to make. And unfortunately, that decision went against us.
Yeah, he didn't have any argument with it. I think he was trying to duck and dive out of the way of it without criticising James Wilson, because quite simply, James Wilson's a young man. Tackling's not his forte. Unfortunate, but nevertheless, Jim Goodwin now, being greedy, as you would expect, wants more from his side to see if they can actually catch Hibs. They're only 3 points behind them. This is so tight, it's unbelievable. Who do you think is going to finish third? There's lots of things that can happen along the way. Hearts have got to go to Fir Park and win to make sure that it doesn't matter what happens elsewhere. They've got that 1 point advantage. So it's all to play for. Who do you see getting that top 6?
I think the Hibs-Aberdeen game will be quite crucial when the split comes. I don't know if it is a top 6 side. Where are they? Home and away. Who will get that game home?
Yeah, that's for the top 3.
No, but I mean when they get there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, is it game at Pittodrie or is it Easter Road?
I thought you were asking me who will end up third.
No, who's going to get in the top 6?
Turn your head in.
Have you met Alison? Yeah, absolutely.
I actually thought you meant who do you think is going
who's going to get who's going to get the top 6? But before you answer it, by the way, could you dab the side of his mouth? and
slow deterioration.
Yeah. Don't, honestly, because people complain. People will complain. Poor Ruffy, we love him. Poor Ruffy. Who's getting the top 6? I was trying to get your opinion on it. Is it going to be Motherwell? Is it going to be Hearts? Is it going to be St Mirren?
Hope it's St Mirren.
You hope it's St Mirren?
I like St Mirren. I like the way they control they let the fans. Fans are all back. The manager, I like the manager very well. And I like the players I've got as well.
Yeah,
they've been good this season.
Ali?
I think it would be remarkable for St Mirren to get it. I think Hearts will get it.
Yeah. I think the Jam Tarts will get it.
You would.
No. I've only been honest with you.
I hope St Mirren as well.
Yeah.
Because I think Hibs would have to go to Tynecastle, and if Hearts get it, and if Hearts don't get it, well.
Yeah.
Unlucky, innit?
Yeah, you're waiting for the ultimate tweet, aren't you? You've held off on it, haven't you?
Honestly, I just can't wait till next Saturday.
Yeah.
Have you mentioned it?
If
Have
they
you
don't get in the
mentioned
top
it in your
six,
column?
I'm just going to my yes.
No, it's not mentioned it in their column.
No.
No, but he's waiting
Next
for
Saturday,
Twitter.
5 o'clock, go to my Twitter and you'll see some payback from me.
Yeah.
From the abuse I got at the start of the season.
I don't think, I have to be honest with you, I think it's fairly clear. I think Hearts will
It's
get
great
it.
about Peter that
Hearts
there's 3 teams still in the mix. It makes it exciting for
yeah.
everybody.
Well, it
And
just-
Motherwell-
That's the purpose of the
I
split.
mean, Motherwell have been sacked to managers. You know, they can sneak in. And by the way, they're not that far off the playoff place, so that kind of secures you. You're not going to be in the relegation battle as well, which is something. So
I think Hearts, played some good football. They just don't have anything up front now that's got that killer instinct at the moment. James Wilson's learning his trade. Lawrence Shanklin, for whatever.
Seen his contract
I genuinely think the manager's taking him out now. He was trying to fudge the issue when we asked him after the game, about his sharpness and just basically all the games he's played. See, when a manager said, well, he's played a lot of minutes, that means he's out of contract and I'm taking him out because he's not part of our plans, So that's what I took from him when I was listening to him. But I think goals is a problem, but I still think they'll have enough to get past Motherwell. So 2 for Hearts, 2 for St Mirren. Yeah, okay. What about Aberdeen? What a goal! Shayden Morris ran the half length of the park.
I think he's the fastest player in the league.
He said it was the best goal of his career as well.
Well, not only the best goal of his career, Ali. Why does he not? Why I
think
couldn't
he's better as
believe.
an impact sub, Peter. I've seen him come on again. The 3 each game against Hibs, he come on at half time, and he was unbelievable. He ran amok. And I just think when he comes up against defenders that are tired last 20-30 minutes, he's better than starting a game. But fair play to him, it was end product is something that you could say he's got to work on, but it was a brilliant goal.
I would play him every week, Ruffy. I just don't understand.
He doesn't play like that every week.
No, but every time I've seen him, though, he is a forward-thinking player. He doesn't play like that every week, you're right, but what he does do is he makes the runs. He continually gives you that option. The worst thing you can ask any defender, what do you not like? A player running at you.
Pace, yeah, they don't like you coming at you at pace, but I mean, it was a fair old run that you had for the halfway line with the 2 defenders, obviously just running alongside him. I know you're saying it's a great goal. I thought the goalkeeper should have done better.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's right over the top of his head. He's at the near post and the guy's coming at an angle.
That's the barn in, Peter.
I know, but he's right over his head.
Yeah.
It's just stand up and touch it out of the bar.
With all due respect, sometimes I actually this happened this morning. This happened this morning at the 5-a-side where somebody played the ball left of me a yard, and I looked at him and I went, I'm afraid you just don't know your players. I'm not moving a yard that way to get the ball. And with Ruffy, why should we listen to a man who was beaten by an ageing Kubias from 30 yards and a free kick, and the boy hit it with the outside of his right foot?
Distance gets longer and longer.
And by the way, I know, exactly. And by the way, for the benefit of Morton fans out there, if you just put in YouTube Andy Ritchie and Alan Ruff, not only is he beaten at the same point, this is on a sandy pitch, freezing, and Andy Ritchie just curls it in at the near post, and Ruffy does that usual thing that he does at the tennis. That's not really worth going for. I'm just going to watch that and admire it. So
I can't argue with that.
Did you used to hate getting beat at the near post?
No, you should never ever get beat at the near post. But that theory went out the window with Edda, who's running through, and you say, like, don't get beat at the near post, and he just lobs it out of your head. It's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not part of the game.
Exactly.
Shoot for the near post.
The last thing you need is somebody with class. By the way, the Dons now, I might as well get your thoughts on it, Ali, because a lot of people in here think you don't like the Dons. They're now unbeaten in 5. Scottish Cup semi-final to look forward to, and Rangers next up at Pittodrie, which is great because it's got something to play for Aberdeen. They want to finish third, and in this battle with Hibs and Dundee United.
Yeah, I think it'll be an intriguing game at Pittodrie for many reasons. I think Aberdeen will be desperate to get it, as you say. They'll still have an eye on third, and I think just the way they started the season, I think they'll feel sore if they don't take third this term. And of course, our Aberdeen Rangers, there's always ample space around that fixture. Rangers will have an eye in the return leg out in Spain against Bilbao too, and of course, if Celtic then win against Kilmarnock on Saturday, where Aberdeen to win, Celtic could win the league by default on Sunday.
Have we only got 3 in Europe this year? Did Celtic win the cup?
No, it'll drop down to...
They'll be qualifying.
There'll be qualifiers going down to the 4th position. Is that okay for you?
Yeah.
And then it becomes really difficult because it's not just one qualifier; it's 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So the
really
pressure is really on.
Third is huge, isn't it? It's basically guaranteed.
Yeah.
At least the conference, but it's a big game for Aberdeen because Hibs have got Dundee at home. You'd expect Hibs to beat them at home in the last.
Yeah.
And the gap could be 4 if Aberdeen don't beat Rangers.
This game is going to be. I mean, listen. I know Barry mentioned it at the top of the programme. You can get up for Celtic in European games. I think Rangers players, if they can't get up for an Aberdeen game, there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's huge. I think, you know, I think there are certain fixtures within the Scottish calendar that have an extra bit of spice to them, and that would be one of them, particularly at Pittodrie. But I think Aberdeen will be desperate for third. Aberdeen will still feel as though that they've got it in them. They're still capable of getting it. But they'll need a strong finale to the season, and I think that semi-final fixture coming up too, I think they want to go into it sharp. They want to go into it on the back of a decent run of form too.
Sean says it's no secret Ali doesn't like the Dons. Well, there you are.
It's bang on.
It's out there.
No point in bleating about it.
Yeah, there'll be no. Oh no, there'll be no.
That's the me that said
There'll be no journey up to Pittodrie for Ali of late. And also, Celt has just belted us, and he says, "How many tournaments did Tam and Pedro represent Scotland in?" Jumping to your defence there, Ruffy.
It's not your fault because you had the lack of ability.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we bow to your quality as a goalkeeper, but not as an outfield player. Kilmarnock 2, Motherwell 0. Fraser Murray and Joe Wright getting the goals. Motherwell with Coffee Bammer sent off in the game, but Killie with a vital win. Killie can deal with the pressure, says their manager. Motherwell's boss, Michael Wimmer, puts it all down to that red card changing the game.
And I've watched closely this week how we've been in training. I'd said to the players, I'm going to look at the day's training all week, just as if it's my first day in the job, just watching you. I need to see the personality, I need to see the ones who are not going to be fazed by the situation. And I heard you asking Joe a question there about the confidence and dealing with the pressure type games. We've always done that, to be honest. We've always dealt with that game. It's not something you want. Last year was a different type of pressure. The year before was something similar, but I actually think we've got a stronger squad of players to deal with what's ahead of us. So
I think also we should not always talk about the top six. No, we should talk about us to train well. They did it last week, and now we have to. The next week we have to train very well, and then we have to bring a good performance. And then there will come a result. But we don't come into the top six with talking. We have to bring performance, but. Today, no blame for the players. It's difficult. Yeah, the only thing what makes me angry is the set piece. Yeah.
Well, there you are. Lost the game, and all to play for. Who do you think?
2 red cards.
Yeah. What do you make of them?
I thought the first one was a wee bit harsh.
Just a wee bit.
I thought the first one was a wee bit harsh. I think he's just followed through. He's trying to clear the ball with his wrong foot.
I didn't think it was a red card at all.
Yeah, I thought that was harsh. The second one was. I don't know what the boys doing. He's trying to headbutt him.
Yeah.
The second one, aye, but the first one, I think they might win the appeal.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. To be fair, by the way, there was only one red card.
No, there was 2.
2, and they rescinded it.
They
rescinded the red.
Yeah, they rescinded it.
Yeah.
So there's only one red card. Yeah.
There was 2 on the day for Motherwell.
Yeah, but one get rescinded on the day. Okay. Ali, give me that hanky, will you? Give me that hanky. I was looking there and I think to myself, my notes, I could see the boy getting sent off, but then he just come back, looked at it, and then rescinded it.
Once I got him out the shower, he was pretty sharp getting up the tunnel.
Anyway, reconstruction. We thought last week when we were all talking about it, we thought we'd get some of the fans' thoughts on it. This is what the supporters up and down the country had to say about the possibility of reconstruction.
I'd rather 16 or 14 maybe, so we're not playing as much. It makes the rivalry better for us as well and better for Celtic, and it just makes the league better overall, more competition.
Definitely not 10, at least 14. 10 is a waste of time. Play each other 4 times hopeless. Crowds will go down, so it's a bad move.
I quite like the 12 and the split at the end. It keeps it interesting even if you're down the bottom. So, you know, your bottom 6, they're still fighting for their lives right up to the very last bit. So
personally, and over the years, I would have always preferred a bigger league, you know, to give some of the smaller clubs a wee chance, you know, a crack at the top division type of thing. So I would rather see them go into maybe a 14-team league to get some of the other teams involved. You see what's going on with Dunfermline, Falkirk, Raith Rovers, Ayr United. Some of those clubs there, it'd be great to see them up in the top division again.
I think it's terrible going to 10 teams. I think it kills the game and just makes the Old Firm duopoly kind of even worse. Like, it's got to go to 14 or 16.
I think the general feeling is 14 or 16, Ruffy.
Well, they just explain to me, if the 14 goes 14, so they're playing 26 games and they want 36. Does that mean you have a split and that split play each other twice?
Top 6, bottom 8.
But do they play each other twice then to get their 38 games and the extra games against Rangers and Celtic?
Well, they will still retain the 4 games against each other if Rangers and Celtic, undoubtedly, as is the case, always finish in the top 6. They will play each other 2 games at Ibrox, 2 games at Celtic Park. That would be retained. There is a permutation to work it out from 14 and 16. But if we could dedicate a whole show to it, which we probably will, Ruffy, just to explain to you exactly, you know, the different permutations that you've not bothered your back end to look at.
No, I think I'd like people to explain to me how they're all going, oh, let's go 16. And they keep talking about, get teams up for the Championship. How do you get the teams up to the Championship? Who gets up there? Well, they mentioned Dunfermline there, and Dunfermline are getting relegated nearly.
No, but this wouldn't happen until the
that's
end
what
of the
I'm
next
saying.
season.
I think you've got to start next year.
It would be season 26, 27.
Well, that's
which
good.
Potentially Dunfermline, with money, might actually think to themselves, we maybe change this team of underachievers and get up the league and might get into that top 4.
Well, that'd be good if we knew exactly where we stand at the beginning of the season and instead of somebody suggesting it at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. They usually suggest league reconstruction around about March, April, so that Neil Doncaster can actually kick everybody down by saying, look at this playoff, it all works. Do you know what I mean? And then there's the threat of the 10, which is just ridiculous. I don't know where that part came in. I mean, whoever fed them that line on 10 was just trying to scaremonger everybody.
10 won't happen.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question that a consensus across the board would come back with most players, fans, managers would all prefer more teams in the league. They prefer a bigger league than what it is. I have to say, I don't think it's entirely broken at the minute. I think you're looking just now, you're talking about this weekend ahead of the split. It's a fairly interesting weekend. There are plenty of live games. I think that's what you want too. The last thing you want are dead rubbers when you've still got months of the season to go. You want as many games with something riding on them as possible.
Do you know what the great thing that keeps games alive, Ali? Money. There's no such a thing as a dead rubber when suddenly there's rich rewards at the end of it. If there is some way they can incentivise teams to say, listen, you know, at that bottom end, there's something to play for here. I don't know how they do it. I suggested, you know, obviously, some people.
I heard a suggestion a cup.
Well,
absolute nonsense.
Well, listen, do you want me to tell you something?
I would go European place.
What?
The top of
the bottom 6.
Top of the bottom 8 would play the 4th team or whoever in a playoff to see who get the last European place.
Okay, right.
Rather than giving them a trophy for finishing 8th.
My cup doesn't seem as bad now. You've taken the heat off me. It's a fantastic suggestion, Tam.
It's giving the bottom 8 an incentive to do something.
There's got
to a trophy. Here you go.
There's got to be something as an incentive, but it's
never getting it.
That's what. You need to finish 4th.
You need to finish. By the way, any team with
you'd have an incentive to finish in the bottom half.
Exactly. By the way, any team with more than 3 vowels can't play.
Or you could be really stupid and go back to that old game show where you get a joker No, you just put the joker up and you get double points.
Those people are no longer with us on this show, Ruffy. Anyway, apart from anything else, so many people. I'm going to read out a few. Kaiser says 16. 16 teams. Maestro says 14 teams. Split top 6, bottom 8. And there's so many. We should copy the Belgian Pro League, says Aurora. And Bartholomew, I like it. If you were sitting, the great thing about YouTube is there's tags for names, and if you think Bartholomew is one of them that you're going to put in there, brilliant. 14 is the way to go. Home and away makes 26 games with a split and a further round of home and away. Top 6 play 36 games, bottom 8 play 38 games, 2 automatic relegation and 1 in a playoff. Bartholomew, thank you for that. And that's our competition this week. What is Bartholomew on about there? Because halfway through it, I'd lost it. And you, Tam, I'd lost the will to live.
Was that
I understood it.
Did you get it all? Well done, Ruffy. Listen, Tam's just lost it, honestly, says Paul. And Celt says Tam wants to turn the league into a school sports day where everyone gets a win. everyone gets a winner's medal, and that is the best way to end this show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I can tell you one thing: I'm going to settle down tonight and watch 3 Scots playing football in Serie A. Bologna against Napoli. I hope you enjoy your football. Don't forget women's football show, the journos. We've got the football show again on Friday. We've got lots of stuff coming this week for you to enjoy. And of course, we'll have the preview to the big game, which I think this week is massive for Rangers. Just as a footnote, guys, Rangers is vital they get something to hang on to against Athletic Bilbao.
I see it, Peter. I think it's going to be 6 consecutive home defeats. I fancy Bilbao strongly.
Yeah?
I'd go for a draw, 1 each.
Alison?
I think all evidence points to Bilbao winning and winning comfortably, but I think what you've seen in European football in the Europa League is that Rangers have bucked expectations, particularly at Ibrox. I'm going to go for a draw.
Yeah, I cannot see past Bilbao if Rangers play the way they've been playing of late at Ibrox. Give us your thoughts on it as well. We're going to have the build-up for that all through this week. Rangers in action. And also this week, we'll be keeping you up to date with what's happening in the Champions League. Some tasty games on offer as well. From Ruffy, Alison, Tam and myself, Peter Martin, thank you for listening and watching.